Morning, guys. June 9th and Luke 11. It's Jesus talking about asking and receiving. And there's a bunch in here. It actually goes all over the place. And I know I normally go all over the place. So when Chambers goes all over the place and I normally go all over the place, then we're most likely to go really all over the place. So the one thing that stuck out to me as I was reading the passage is the which one of you fathers, if your son asks for a fish, this is in verse 11 of Luke 10, will give him a snake instead, or if he asks for an egg, will give him a scorpion. If you, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? And so it's this asking and him giving, not stuff, but giving the Holy Spirit. So it's one of the things that stood out to me was, but what if we ask for a snake? He's not going to give us a snake. I think we need to ask for the right things, and that's back to a previous study, a previous day, which is he knows what's good for us, and so when we ask, he gives us what we need, and giving us the Holy Spirit is that's exactly what we need. So sometimes when we ask for other things, sometimes we say, well, I asked and he didn't give. Well, maybe it's because you asked for a snake. You didn't ask for a fish. You asked for a scorpion. You just didn't realize it wasn't good for you. But he did, because he's a good father. And so I think that's the same thing with our kids. We see sometimes they ask for the wrong things. And so do we. So the Holy Spirit is always the right thing. And so then Chambers deals with, how do we receive that? What does that even mean or look like? Or what does the Holy Spirit do in our lives? And I really like the last sentence of the first paragraph there, which is the Holy Spirit is the one who makes real in you all that Jesus did for you. It's really interesting when you study the relationship between the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Jesus says he came to do the will of the Father, to glorify the Father. The Father glorifies his Son. And then the Holy Spirit, and then the Father sends his Son, obviously, to redeem mankind up to himself. But then the Holy Spirit comes along, and what the Holy Spirit does is kind of reveals truth, reveals the truth of the gospel. That's why the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is the one unforgivable sin the Bible talks about. Blaspheming the Holy Spirit means rejecting the message of the Spirit. The Spirit comes to make real in us all that Jesus did for us, is how Chambers puts it, who makes real in you all that Jesus did. He's the one that testified, that convicts of sin, to testifies to the redemption, the redemptive work of the cross. And then he's to also bring about the promises of Jesus in us. And so that's what the Spirit does. And so obviously, when we ask, God will give. God will give us a good gift, the gift of the Holy Spirit. So, and this is bound up in a lot of church doctrinal muck, and it gets a little bit convoluted sometimes. But like I've said before, to keep it simple, it's simple. It's very simple. It's just sometimes not easy to understand, but it's simple. It's interesting what he says in the second paragraph. To receive, that word receive. To receive means that you come into the relationship of a child of God. Because he says sometimes people get, but they're not receiving. They're not actually receiving like a child of God receives. And now you perceive with intelligent and moral appreciation and spiritual understanding that these things come from God. The things that you're getting come from God. That's receiving. Receiving is the act on this end, saying, oh, I understand. I didn't just get those things and not recognize where they're coming from. Receiving means I recognize where the good and perfect gifts, where they come from. And the very last thing, and I think this is kind of key, is at the end he says, a pauper does not ask from any other reason than the abject panging condition of his poverty. He is not ashamed to beg. Blessed are the paupers in spirit. And so I think that is that's Chambers' way of saying that we ask when we need, when we need the Holy Spirit to work in our lives, and who doesn't, to reveal to us what Jesus has already accomplished on the cross. That's the other thing too, is there's this really interesting, and I addressed it before with the I am of God, the very present nature of God, and it's also the redemptive work. It is the redemptive work is not coming, and it's not. It wasn't in the. It is present. The redemptive work of Christ, and so that what the Spirit does is reveals to us the redemptive work of Christ in us, that is in us. When we receive the truth of the gospel. So I hope I wasn't all over the place, but yeah, I'll leave it there. You guys have an awesome day.